Well, hello, welcome to another episode of Embrace Live. Hope everybody's doing well this Wednesday evening. So, just to welcome everybody, let me introduce myself. My name is Dave Dixon. I'm a member of the leadership team over at Embrace Church, which is in Darlington. And I have a great privilege of working with the team over there and worshipping with them, doing life with them, which is fantastic. And what I love about Embrace Live, which kind of came out of what we were doing online during lockdown, when obviously churches had to find different ways and use technology to connect with one another. We just thought that actually we'd like this to continue because we were able to hear from and connect with and reach people who right across the region, right across the country, in fact, right across the world. And actually, it's a way as well, we know that we can connect with people who maybe don't do the church thing. So welcome. If you don't do the church thing at all, you're more than welcome to stay, please. We'd like to make this very informal, very chatty. You might have some questions that you might want to ask. So, as always, I want to encourage you to be interactive. If you've joined us live tonight, that's fantastic. It's always the best experience because actually we can, like I say, respond to your comments and questions. I'm really excited that we've got Stephen Riley joining us tonight. He's a very busy fellow, amazing quality guy, known him for many years, and I'm really pleased he's able to take a bit of time out of his busy schedule and carve this time out for us tonight. So really excited. We'll pop across to see Stephen in a moment just to do a quick hello, and then we'll hear, obviously, the majority of this session, or the episode, should I say, is going to be hearing from the amazing work that Stephen's involved with the M10 missions and so on. Okay, I can already see from my comments on my other monitor here, I can see what's being posted, that Jill Jackson's joined us online. Hello, Jill. It's great to have you with us. Thank you. And she's very excited, in her words, to be catching up with Mr. Riley. I've just got him on my other monitor over here, and he's just checking out the reaction, and he's waving at me. That's all right. Okay, we're going to come to you in a moment, Stephen. All right, but he looks happy, and Jill's saying something rather cryptic already. That she had a certain sandwich for lunch today and thought about Stephen Riley. Maybe when we pop across to you in a moment, Stephen, then we can actually just see if that actually makes sense, or if Jill has just maybe just lost a marbles even more so, and so on. I don't know what that means, and looking at the reaction from Stephen, maybe he's not sure either. We shall see. Okay, so listen, as always we do this, we want to make it nice and informal, just chatty, and the whole thing about an Embrace Live, with it being a Wednesday, it's just a bit of a kind of midweek top-up. Hump Day, as they call it, as we kind of have done the hard work at the beginning of the week. We're heading towards the weekend, and so on. And just to kind of, get us going, a bit of encouragement throughout the week. And I love doing these things, like I say, because it's a great opportunity. Like tonight, for me to chat with somebody that I've known for many years, but actually, we've always kind of spent time together when we've been busy doing this stuff. So actually, I know him a little bit, but I wouldn't say I know him a great deal. So it's always good for me, again, just to kind of get to know people a little bit more, which is great. Listen, I'm really, like I say, excited that Stephen's joined us, but I just wanted to plug what's coming up as well. Stephen, I'm loving that picture on that on there. That's one of your profile pictures. It's brilliant, that, man. I love that. It's so, you just oozed, I think you are the definition of cool, I have to say. That's amazing, mate. But you can see we've got, alongside Stephen's picture on there, we've got many others kind of coming up. They're just some of the people who have agreed to kind of come on the show. I've got them lined up. In fact, actually set your reminders. I say this every week. Set your reminders, 8 o'clock on a Wednesday, because I've actually got somebody planned in every Wednesday from now until the end of July, and I'm going into August, all right? So, again, it'd be great if you can join us. We've got people from all over the region, all over the country, and like I said, I'm trying to work on a few people that just, beyond the UK as well, just to kind of celebrate. And the whole point is, like I say, to encourage one another and hear how God is on the move. God is doing this stuff in so many different ways, working through so many different people, impacting their communities and beyond. And so it's really, really encouraging to hear people's stories about how they came to know Jesus themselves, how they came to that decision to follow Jesus, and then, how are they living that out, that relationship, how are they living it out? And like I said, these are quality people who've got lined up, and you really do want to make sure that you tune in. Live, if you can, can, 8 o'clock on a Wednesday, like I say. But, of course, you can always head over to our YouTube channel and follow them on there, obviously, and catch them up on there. I do post them a little bit later. Obviously, the main thing is on Facebook, like we say. And listen, when we're mentioning YouTube, it'd be really, really good if you can head over to our YouTube channel, please, and just then, subscribe, as the animation on screen just showed you, and do the usual thing, like the video, subscribe to it, hit the notification bell, and then you can keep up to date when we're posting anything new. All right, so that would be great if you could do that. I'll tell you what, I've talked a lot already. Let's pop over to see Stephen, just to see how he's doing, and just welcome him to the show. Here we go. Hi, Stephen, how are you?
Hi, everyone. Hi, yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Good, man. I've already said, just before we came on air, I've already done a little bit of admiration of that amazing world map that is behind you. That's fantastic. So, currently, I have to say, all the episodes have been good so far, but you are winning, I would say, the best background award so far. It's worth, obviously, it's worth tuning in just to see that alone, but we're really excited to hear from you tonight. And, a little bit nerdy, you might also be winning the Best Microphone Award as well, Guest Microphone Award for the Blue Yeti that you're using. So just a little bit of appreciation for the technology that we've got going on behind you. So we'll come back to you in a moment, Stephen, just to obviously, then we'll chat a little bit more and hear what, all about, M10 and so on. So again, thank you for, joining us tonight. Okay, let me just jump over to this one. Again, I really want to encourage people, if you can, please, to post your comments and your questions when we're talking with Stephen. Stephen doesn't mind this, and we'd like to say we just want to make it chatty. We're amongst friends here, and he looks a bit worried now on screen when I said he doesn't mind this, but it's just we want to respond to people, their comments and their questions and so on like that. Already, I can see appreciation for the wall behind you there, Stephen, which is good. So, a lot of other people are really appreciating the decor already. However, whoever that posted that comment that's saying nice wall is obviously part of the Embrace leadership team, needs to realise that they are posting as Embrace Church Darlington. So there's just a little reminder for my wonderful leadership team buddies, just to make sure that you post as yourself rather than Embrace Church Darlington. That would be wonderful. Okay, so what I've got now is a little bit of leadership intro video which I played, and then what that'll do is going to take us over to Stephen, and we'll just have a really good chat with him as we go through, and we'll make it nice and relaxed. We'll hear all about, Stephen's story and, his amazing work that he's doing with the team for M10 missions. So, just as a lead into that, here's a little bit of an intro video. See you soon. And here we are. Hello, Stephen. Are you well? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm great.
Good, man. Thanks. Thank you. So, welcome. Actually, I was just totting them up, really. I had a quick look just before we came on. And we're up to episode 34 tonight, which is really good. So, thank you for featuring on episode 34. I also did a little kind of check to see when we started and when we're celebrating our first birthday. And that will be at the beginning of May. So, we're not far away, which is good. I'm really excited. So, before we go any further, Stephen, all right, I really want us to jump onto this and just... let's just respond to this wonderful post by Jill. A certain sandwich. I'm intrigued for lunch today and thought about Stephen Riley. I mean, are you associated with a particular sandwich brand or something? I'm not sure.
I just have not got a clue. I don't know what that is about at all.
Well, that's very cryptic then, Jill. You need to come back on and obviously just let us know what it is, because I'm intrigued. I'm sure Stephen is intrigued, and I'm sure everybody, we want to know what kind of sandwich that is. And what's the connection? There we go. Always start with a bit of intrigue at the beginning of the show. That's good. So, Stephen, I tell you what, why don't you put yourself into context for us? Why don't you just, I mean, like I said, I've met you for a number of years ago now. We were involved in things together like Harvest and so on. Good times, certainly. But why, for those of the people who maybe are tuning in who haven't met you before, why don't you just put yourself into context? Have you got family? Are you married? What do you do for a day job? All that kind of quick stuff, and then maybe we'll get into the detail a little bit later on.
Okay, cool. So I have I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a leader. I have 3 children. I have 5, actually. Sorry, 5 children, and 3 of them are away at university.
Yeah.
One of them is an apprentice mechanic, and the other one is in year 9 at school. Originally from London, grew up most of my years in the Salvation Army down there, and then I wanted to get involved in youth work, so came up here to the northeast through an organisation called Youth for Christ.
Yeah.
Joined a team, thought I was just coming to do a gap year. 30 years later, I'm still here.
Wow.
But whilst I was working for Youth for Christ, I ran different missions teams. The one that most people will be aware of, maybe fond of, is Dependence.
Yeah.
We used to do missions in schools. We would do rapping, breakdance, street dance, drama. Put on shows at the end of these mission weeks in school. There'd be hundreds of students come along to our shows, and we would get opportunity to preach the gospel in some kind of format.
Amazing.
And it was exciting. It was absolutely amazing. And towards 2009, 2010, I left Youth for Christ and went to work for a school in Ashington. But during that time, I took a trip out to Mexico, which I'll probably come on to a bit later. But I took a trip out to Mexico, and that trip sort of was the footing, if you like, of the rest of my life.
Wow.
And where I'm at now. Yeah.
Amazing. Cool. So, and let me just sorry, I was a little bit distracted there, Stephen. I apologise that because obviously Barry Thompson, who we both know well, he's kind of posted on here. Let me just add it to the broadcast. All the best people on Brace Live recently, of course. Why is he saying that? Well, guess who was a guest with Vicky last week on Embrace Live? So there we go. Yes, we do agree. We do agree. I'm sure. Okay. Let's just clear up this. The cryptic kind of messages from Jill. I'm just going to add it on there here that you can see the food, because she had a vital role at the Harvest, as we were involved in for many years, of the catering manager, and things like the buffets, the Harvest food, jacket potatoes. And she always looked after you. I'm sure that's the case. We agree, again, surely.
Absolutely. Jill's food was absolute keen. I don't know what Gary was doing, but Jill's food was amazing.
Absolutely. I just want to do a big shout out for the Harvest Humdinger. That was a particularly favourite of mine. Maybe had one too many of them. Maybe Jill can post actually what was in the Humdinger. I don't quite remember, but I do know there was substantial and tasty and filling, definitely. So, So you grew up in London then. So let's get the obvious out of the way. Which team are you?
Do you know, I should be Crystal Palace,
right?
Because that was the team nearest to where I live. But I'm actually a Liverpool supporter. I've been a Liverpool supporter for years.
Why Liverpool then?
Right, okay, here's the story. I was in the schoolyard with my friends, and they were all saying who they supported. And I didn't really know much about football at the time.
Yeah.
And I said, who should I support? And they said, okay, you can support Liverpool. And it just stuck.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. That's all right. That's okay. I mean, it's not a bad team to support, is it? I mean, they're an amazing team. Never mind, not a bad team. So that's
Isn't it?
good. So all right. So
Who do you support?
I'm a Middlesbrough supporter. I'm a Borough boy. And but saying that, I must admit, with a good friend of ours, Gary Jackson, for the last couple of seasons, I've had a Spennymoor Town, kind of season ticket. So I've spent some times up there and enjoy it because I just like it's good, honest football. So obviously last week, immediately had to get in the bit of banter with Barry being a Darlow fan, So I was asking Barry, I don't know if you caught the show last week, but if he was the Darlow fan or one of the Darlow fans who was responsible for kicking down fences on Boxing Day at the Spennymoor ground. But he said he wasn't, and I believe him, I suppose. Vicky, I'm not so sure about, but no. There we go. Okay, so you came up to the Northeast to kind of get involved with youth work. Amazing. And obviously that is, 30 years later, plus you're still here, which is fantastic, even though you're going to come up for a year or so. Let's step back a little bit, because it'd be really good, Stephen, to hear your story about, how you came to make a decision to have a personal relationship with Jesus, to commit your life to, following him. And I'm sure there were circumstances around. You didn't just arrive at a point and say, "No, I'm going up to the Northeast to this YFC place to do," for no reason at all, because you had nothing better to do. I'm sure there was motivational reasons. So I always ask the same kind of questions, really. What was life like before? And then what was life like kind of leading up to that moment when you made a decision to commit your life to Jesus, and and then you've then it's an opportunity, and you've given us a little bit of an insight in that, and about what life has like been since then. So go on, give us a bit of your story.
Okay. So there was me, my mum, 3 older sisters. My parents got divorced when I was less than 10 years of age. But my family were deeply Christian, so I was brought up to go to church. The churches that I used to go to were kind of full of old people when I was younger than 10. And my sister started guides in the Salvation Army, and so I decided to go along with her, and they had something similar for boys.
Yeah.
So I started going along to that every week, going along to the church on a Sunday, and then I joined the choir, I joined the band, I was just involved in everything. And to be honest, because I was involved in those things, and because my family were Christians, and because the Bible was very central in the house, for me, I was a Christian. I was doing all the right things, singing all the right songs, praying all the right prayers, and all the rest of it. But then, when I became a Christian, I knew I definitely wasn't before, because I was riding on the coattails of everybody else. It was like I wasn't taking responsibility for my own faith, and that's what I needed to do. So I remember going along to my niece's christening in a Black Pentecostal church, bizarrely, and this guy who preached, and at the end he prayed a prayer. And the words that he used in that prayer really moved me. They moved me so much that the whole day I felt what I know now to be God's Spirit on me in such a strong, powerful way. And I knew that there was something I had to do about it. So that night, in a different church, in a Salvation Army church in Bexley Heath in Kent, I made my decision to follow Jesus. I didn't know what it meant. I kind of knew what it meant, but I didn't fully know what it meant. But I knew it was the right thing to do in that moment. Now, to be fair, years previous, I made that similar kind of decision, but it was more based on emotions. This time, I knew something real was happening. I got up the next morning and I remember having a conversation with my mum, and she said to me, Stephen, you've got to trust God. You've got to, and she pointed me to that verse in Proverbs, in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your paths.
Yeah.
And so that's what I began to do. Um, I felt God active in my life the more I surrendered to him. And there came a point where I was thinking, right, does God want me to be a minister within the Salvation Army? And I really began to think about that, and I made the decision to actually do that. But I kind of said to my minister at the time, I want to get some experience in youth work. So I went along to Spring Harvest and looked at the different stalls, and that Oasis were there, YWAM were there, Youth for Christ were there, and Youth for Christ had a program called Operation Gideon. It was a discipleship course, gap year course, and I just that just jumped out at me. I just thought, I want to do this. Cut a long story short, they accepted me. They got me on a team with 3 other people. One was from London, one was from Birmingham, and one was from somewhere else, I can't remember. And they sent us up here to work with Tyneside Youth for Christ. And we got the opportunity to do so many things, work with churches and their young people, work in schools, doing RE lessons, all manner of stuff. And yet, towards the end of that year, I felt God wanted me to stay another year, but I had this dilemma because I'd already said I was going to be a Salvation Army officer, and I just didn't know what to do. So prayed about it, and again, cut long story short, I ended up staying a second year, a third year, and it was in that third year, I think it was in that third year, that Ninth Hour started.
Right.
It actually, the event, because Crucible was running at the same time.
That's right, yeah.
So there was myself, a guy called Ken Riley, Phil Glover, and others, and we had set up this event for those who lived further north than Sunderland and Teesside, and young people just started coming. And
Amazing.
Out of that, there were mission teams, and out of that came dependents, and then we started doing our missions in schools, and it just took off. It was amazing.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. What? So how old were you when, you talked about gap year, how old roughly were you when you first came to North East?
23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a bit of a culture shock, or did you fit into the Geordie ways?
Mate, there was no black people up here.
Yeah.
None. It was it a culture shock? It wasn't a culture shock. It was just very, very different. There was a different way of going on. People up here, it's true, Northerners are friendly. They're much more friendly than people down south. It's a generalisation, but it's true.
Yeah.
But I kind of, with my brash London, all right, mate, how you doing? You all right? Kind of thing. I would just say things as I saw them, which didn't always go down too well. So I had to kind of polish up a little bit and, find nice ways of saying true stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, obviously you mentioned Ninth Hour and so on. We've had Ken Riley on an episode previously, and it was good to catch up with Ken and obviously hear about that and his kind of involvement and so on. So again, amazing times, really. Amazing events. Like you say, you mentioned the Crucible. For those of you who are not of my age and wondering what we're on about, it's not the Crucible as in the Sheffield snooker venue, whatever it is, but it was a similar youth event that was being held in Teesside at the time, and it was such again special times to kind of gather, and it's such encouraging and so on, and obviously one of the privileges that we've had shared as well is our involvement in Harvest, which was a youth camp, a youth festival that used to happen in Bank Holiday weekend in August each year in the northeast, in kind of Bishop Auckland to begin with, and then it kind of in its latter days move further down into the Teesside. How did you get involved with that, Stephen? I don't know. I mean, we used to spend time on the exec, as they used to call it, the executive committee. We used to help put the thing together. But how did you get involved with that?
I was asked to come on the exec and just watch really what was going on. Other members of the Youth for Christ team had been involved in Harvest. I've never ever been. So the first time I went, I think, was the year that Princess died. I think that was my first year.
Right.
And so I was just there, kind of leading on stage with Phil Glover, and then in time I began to run a venue, and that was an amazing after-hours venue. Not because I was running it; it just had a real buzz to it.
Yeah.
And we invited bands, we invited other speakers, solo artists, that kind of thing, and it was just amazing. And Soul Survivor obviously came up, and they led worship, and Mike Pilavachi would speak, and I don't like using the term "God turned up" because I think God doesn't turn up; we turn up.
I totally agree. Yeah.
But the presence of God was so strong.
Yeah.
Lives were changed. Lives were transformed. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And it was good to be part of what was going on there. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't know whether have you seen Phil Glover recently? Are you still in contact with him? Do you know?
I've not seen Phil for about a year because he's moved down Birmingham way to lead a church down there. But his son is getting married in a few weeks' time, so we're going there for that.
Nice one. That'd be nice to see. Yeah. You're a legend, and again, speaking as somebody who's been involved with Harvest and attended Harvest for my first year I think was 1987. I think I left school the next year and then went onwards from there. I know the amazing Jill Jackson that we mentioned already. I think she was at the very first one, and has fulfilled various roles, and if nothing else, made us really appreciate the. And I'm just looking at the different. Oh, she has posted what was involved in the Harvest Humdinger, which is great. So she's listed. I'm going to put these on because this is legendary. So 2 burgers, yes, 2 slices of cheese, bacon, and mushroom, all in a secret sauce that will obviously never be disclosed. Oh wow, okay. I'm having flashbacks and I'm starting to salivate a little bit here. Maybe I should blame the Harvest Humdinger for my obesity. I don't know, my large frame. I don't know. Maybe we'll get away with that. Okay, nothing to do with my willpower at all. Oh, yes. And then she's listing corned beef savoury and other things as well. Anyway, all right, we won't get too much into that. But so we certainly, Jill, we appreciate all the hard work and the team that you have as part of the what was the catering, the loaves and fishes tent, and you served amazingly well and led on that for many, many years and so on. I got involved with the my Harvest kind of stories. I got involved with the stewarding. I was one of these people who said, I'll put a fluorescent lovely jacket on that clashed lovely with my big ginger hair. There was a little bit more of it at that point. That beautiful look that was rocking, and I'll help direct traffic and stuff. And then eventually, I was invited like yourself onto the exec, and we kind of put things together, and it was great. Really, really special times. And what humbles me, I don't know whether you get this a lot, Stephen, is just chatting with people how much that Harvest features in their own personal stories. And that's totally humbling. Even in this kind of latter years, when I had a little bit more responsibility within the exec at that point, with John Hawksworth and Hawkeye, I'm trying to get him on the show as well. We as we kind of led that kind of thing, and it was just it would move me to tears just to be at the back to see a tent, a room, a barn full of young people worshipping Jesus and so passionately, and it's amazing. But it really humbles me every time I hear somebody mention Harvest in their own personal story, and I'm sure you know, it's God. Like you said, the presence of God has just moved so many times at Harvest. Not the only place, clearly it's not an exclusive place, but it's certainly, you know, in my experience, a time of year, a festival where really, you know, encountered, you know, the Holy Spirit and had a you know, not a superficial but a top up. I left the place transformed, changed. You know, deeper in my relationship with God is amazing. All right. So all I'm thinking is, I just want to ask you the question. You mentioned so many times the Salvation Army. Were you rocking the uniform as well when you know? Did you?
Yeah, oh, totally. Yeah. Full
And
on
I would love to
cap
see pictures
and
of that.
everything.
Yeah.
I've got none on my computer, so I can't show you.
That's all right. So there's a little challenge for
I've got
everybody.
some
You know, those of you in that we need to start posting any pictures to see of Stephen in his Sally Army kind of uniform.
Don't do it.
And one of the things I was going to mention this, and actually Barry's just asked this question as well, because, you know, obviously then you mentioned about the amazing range of activities that you were involved with. Barry, I'm going to come back a little bit later to that question, because that's certainly a really good one. But, you know, a range of activities, like you say, in Youth for Christ and you know, coming for a year, stayed for 30, you know, big, obviously, impact on your life. And like you say, how did Dependence come about then? Because I know that you used to lead that team and, you know, again, amazing performances. I'm still friends with, you know, a number of the people that were involved in that as well. I just looked at you and just thought, God, you guys are so cool. You're so good, you know. So I still do, by the way, Stephen. I just, you know, like you say.
So basically, it was... Sorry. It was the back end of the 90s. In the country, certainly in the Northeast, drugs were a huge issue, especially amongst young people. And so it was trying to work out how can we address this issue, but more in a creative way, rather than just, you know, like in assemblies saying, say no to drugs, don't do drugs kind of thing. So we had like what I would call an ideas box, like a creative thinking time. And Youth for Christ National were running two teams. There was a band and there was a theatre company. The theatre company was called Activate, and the band were called TVB.
Yeah.
And we kind of thought, can we do something like this? The problem was we were a bit strapped for cash, so I kind of thought, right, we could maybe do like a mixture of both, make it like a gap year, get somebody to write the material for us, and kind of roll it out into schools, and then do workshops off the back of that. So there was a girl at the time called Susan Bennett. She's now Susan Baxter, married to Jeff. And she had just done a degree in performing arts, but something like it. She was a brilliant script writer, like amazing. And so she basically wrote what we were going to deliver. And she directed all of us as a team in order to deliver it. We had recruited young people from all over the country and start to go into schools and deliver. I was the evangelist in the team. Speaking off the back of these, there was also a guy we had called Peter Lazinski. He had an amazing conversion to Christ from a life of drugs and all that kind of stuff. And we used his testimony in schools as well. It was just a really, really powerful time. And the teams changed each year and got to a point where we decided to go full time, and then we had a team of staff members who had other responsibilities as well. So that was a really strong arm of Youth for Christ Northeast. We also had a prison team who go into young offenders institutes. That has now become Junction 42.
Right.
I think you've either had or you're going to have John O'Connor Oh,
Yeah,
right.
John
Okay.
O'Connor's coming on. Yeah, we've had John Searle as well recently, and he's part of the Junction 42 team. But yeah, certainly John O'Connor.
Great.
Now he's a guy who's tough to kind of nail down for a date. But I know John. Looking forward to that. I know he's got. I've heard his testimony. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Youth for Christ were firing on all
Yeah,
cylinders in the
definitely.
Northeast. Uh, it was brilliant the way we were able to serve churches up and down the region, serve schools, and do loads of other stuff as well,
Yeah.
including being involved in Harvest.
Yeah, amazing. So let's because I'm just conscious of the time, and as always, time just
Yeah,
seems to speed up in these
done it.
these episodes. So I really want to give some good amount of time for you to kind of talk about M10 missions and obviously your involvement with that. Let's kind of fast forward a little bit. Let's get to Barry's question here. So so his question. Let me pop it on the screen for us. So he's asking there. As you can see, did you enjoy the experience of speaking to cars at a drive-in church? Beep beep. He finishes off with.
Like it was something I had never done before. It was hands down the most bizarre experience
Yeah,
speaking. Um, but it was great. At the same time, it was really, really great because obviously the whole country was on a level of lockdown,
yeah,
and it was trying to find a creative way to engage the congregation. It was amazing that they had all come, and I gave the message that I did, got them to beat their horns,
yeah.
open their car doors, and shut them to respond in different ways. I absolutely rate Barry and Vicky. They are immense, and been working with them for years. Down in Northallerton, and now they're in Darlington.
Yeah,
They are people on fire for Jesus.
yeah, absolutely.
Authentic,
Yeah.
awesome.
Great, yeah. I mean, obviously, I've got friends as well. I was there when you spoke as well. I was in one of those cars, and a good friend of mine,
How are
Mike,
you?
was next to me. Yeah, yeah, and just kind of, we like the beat. I mean, actually, I've got the privilege of Bishop Auckland churches got together soon afterwards and thought, look at this success. We need to do something like that. So they ran a number for about 6 or so services. So I got the privilege of leading worship with a team, not quite to the same scale as the Darlington one, but I mean certainly there was a 60 to 80 cars there, and it was just an amazing time together, but totally bizarre. And I must admit, I thought, oh, the horn bit is a bit cringy. But then, actually, it was just immense when, just people were doing it and really getting excited. And I thought, yeah, what a creative way to be able to, just shout amen in the sound of a car horn. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. It was, and let me just kind of pop on there as well what obviously Barry's responded with. The sound of the doors opening and closing was a real highlight. Thanks for all you did. It was amazing. Yeah, so it was good to, hear from you in there. All right. So, let's talk M10 missions then. Give us a bit of history about how did that come about, and obviously,
Okay.
I said before we came on there really, and I'll put up your contact details a little bit later on and how people can get involved and support and so on. But I really want to recommend everybody, following this episode, obviously listening to what Stephen's saying and. But check out the website. We'll put the details on later. But have a really good look because it's amazing work that you're doing, and we really want to highlight that and give you opportunity to celebrate it and recognize the impact it's having and hear what's it like and what's your plans, what's happening, what's happened, what's going forward. All right, so
Yeah.
go on, give us a
Okay.
bit of an overview.
So, when I was turning 40, I'll bullet point this. When I was turning 40, I wanted to do something where in the future I can look back and go, that's when that happened. Uh, that was a trip out to Mexico with a mate called John, doing some voluntary work with wine, building a house for a family living in poverty.
Yeah,
That whole experience radically changed how I saw ministry, because I was physically doing something for somebody who I didn't know, who I would probably never ever see again, but it was transformational for them.
yeah,
Now I'd had amazing opportunities in schools, in churches previous, but this seemed just to be on another level. And that whole experience, I came back to the Northeast, went to a ninth hour and put out to how many of the hundreds of young people I want to take a team over to Mexico next year who's coming. At the end of that meeting, one person came up to me and said, I want to do it. I was gutted.
Yeah.
I was excited and gutted. That at the end of that year, 19 of us went out and we built a house for a family. The following year, I didn't take a team. The next year, we took a team. There were 27, I think, that went. Basically, over these last 10 to 12 years, we've taken well over 350 young people out to Mexico to build houses for families living in poverty, serve the homeless, work with orphan children, go into rehab centres full of teenagers, and just minister and love on people. The amazing thing is that the majority of young people that we've taken with us have been students in schools from year 11 to year 13. They've not been Christians. They've had no experience of church at all. But when we've taken them over there, because we're working with you with a mission, they're seeing God activity all around them. They're asking questions. They're really, really curious. We've seen some make decisions to become Christians, but the most exciting thing for me is that none of them have come away from that experience saying, well, there's 10 days of my life that I'll never get back.
Yeah.
Every single one of them have said, that's the best thing I've ever done in my life. And to me, that is a testimony to the work of God in my life and in the lives of the leaders and YWAM out there as well. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely loved the trip. So we were running this, and it got to a point where I kind of thought, well, every year 11 to year 13 student is not going to sign up for an M10 mission over to Mexico. So are there things that we're doing over there that we can do here in this country, in schools, where we can minister on that level? Because for me, it's about shining the light where the darkness is darkest. And often that's in schools. Like all kinds of things going. Mental health for young people in schools is just like it's on another scale. You know this. So we've started to deliver life coaching for students in school.
Great.
We've started to deliver what we call the Boys Network, which is a mentoring program, trying to invest and inspire young people with regards to their future, to kind of see outside the box that there is more to life than what they are experiencing right now.
Absolutely.
We've also set up a couple of programs for those disengaged young people who pretty much are written off either in school or written off in the community, whereby we can get them into temporary employment so that they can begin to think outside the box towards their future. Because for us, everybody has a future.
Absolutely.
Now, for some people, because of the decisions that they make, their future might look bleak. But what we're trying to do is inspire and invest in such a way that the decisions they make are more geared towards success than it is geared towards whatever the other outcome might be. And for me, even though I'm not like fully proclaiming the gospel in terms of words, we are definitely demonstrating the gospel.
Yeah, definitely.
And we are definitely helping these young people to see what Jesus is like and who Jesus is. And where we get the opportunity to share, we absolutely will. So we are about inspiring young people, investing in their personal development so that they can have an influential impact on the world around them. And we want to be involved in that as much as we can.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Well, that's amazing, and it's clear, your passion for that. It certainly comes through as you're talking about it, and again, it's inspirational to hear, and amazing that you've got these opportunities to home and away, kind of abroad, and then, like you say, bringing that back and impacting that, and raising young people's aspirations is so important, and like you say, that addressing their mental health and so on, and it's great to hear that. What about? I'm just thinking that can you give us maybe a couple of examples, if you can think of stories, then what impacting on a young person. Maybe in Mexico, and then what about particularly individual? Obviously, we don't want to give away too many personal details, but that the work that you're doing here back in the Northeast is kind of so like in a home and away kind of impact.
Absolutely. So I'll use the same person for both.
Wow.
So there's a girl called Helen. Nobody knows her from Adam. In terms of what we're doing here. So she came out with us in, I'll say, between 2015 and 2017. We took her out to Mexico, and she was so impacted by what she saw. She came back and she decided that she wanted to find out more about the Christian faith. So she started coming along to church, started talking to me and my wife and some others about what faith was all about. And she wanted to go back to Mexico the following year.
Yeah.
We took her out the following year, and while she was out there, she I think in that lead up, she had made the decision to become a Christian. We took her out to Mexico. One of the places we went was to a dump area where it's like the forgotten people of Mexico.
Wow.
For them, they feel like they're living in a palace, but in actual fact, it's like going to your local tip and seeing people make their own cardboard houses and that kind of thing. And we would go around and we would give people bottles of water, sandwiches, and all of that kind of stuff. And Helen was in my group who were going around, and there was this one woman who said that she had a friend in her house who had a problem with her knee. Cut long story short, got Helen to pray for that woman got healed.
Wow.
Right there and then. It
Amen.
was absolutely incredible. I speak to Helen now, and Helen is still kind of on a journey. I hate that word.
Yeah.
Still on a journey, trying to figure out where her place is in God, where God's place is in her life.
Yeah.
But she will not deny what happened on that day when we were at the she knows she prayed for that woman got healed.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. One of the other exciting things that we love is because the students that we take are doing something that many other young people in schools aren't doing. It means they can get something on their personal statement for university or for future employment that will kind of set them above other people vying for the same place. So there are tens and dozens of young people who are putting this stuff on their CVs, on their personal statements, getting the first place uni that they're going for, because they're just standing out. It's absolutely amazing. And they're just loving it. I'm still getting people, like say to me, Stephen, can you do a reference for me? Can you do a reference for me? Can you do a reference? And I just say yes every time, because I think it's exactly what Jesus would do.
Absolutely.
That there's just an opportunity there to do something amazing. There's one woman, she's a woman now, but when she first came with us, I think she was 19, came in 2009. She came out with us, and when she came back, she said to her mum, I have to go back. About a year and a half later, she went back, cut long story short again, she now lives out there. She's built hundreds of
Wow.
houses out there. She's
Fantastic.
got 3 children. She's married a Mexican. She's running her own church out there.
Wow.
Her testimony is huge, absolutely huge. But the reason why she went in the first place was because she was responding to God to go out to the mission field to do something that, was God going to do anything with her life. And she's making an absolute difference out there.
Wowzers. Amazing. Tell you what, that would be, great to have, if possible, to invite her onto this show and actually hear her story and hear that. That would be,
honestly,
that'd be amazing.
You'd be blown away. You'd be blown away.
Well, maybe I can chat to you a little bit after that. Maybe forward my contact details on and see if we can make that happen at some point. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you go to kind of Mexico and stuff like that, you just did obviously just turn up and said, let's build a house here. Obviously, what was the pre-work? What were you said you were in partnership with a mission? Is that what you said?
So we were. So I knew a guy called Tim Kemp, and he runs the mission base out in a place called Ensenada. It's actually in Baja, California, but the Mexicans call it Mexico. And whilst I was over there, I just had a dream of bringing young people from the Northeast over to Mexico to do what me and my mate John had been doing. And that dream just became a reality.
Amazing.
And it spiraled into something I never, ever imagined it could. And it's just a privilege. It's amazing. Love it.
Yeah. And then what about partnership, obviously, with the rest of the work that you do here in the Northeast? You're talking a lot about students and so on. I saw very briefly, as I was looking earlier on your site, you reference, obviously, I think there's a wonderful testimonial on there from an assistant head that you've worked with in one school. So are you working in a variety of schools? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we got a contract to work with all the schools in North Tyneside Council.
Wow.
We want to work with any secondary school. We have a vision to roll out our program, and that schools will buy into our program because we've seen it work, we believe it works, and it does work.
Yeah.
And it's something that schools are doing probably that much, but we can really increase their impact.
Yeah.
And a lot of schools don't have time to deliver on the level that they would like to. Well, that's where we come in.
Yeah.
So M10 is a charity. We have a board of trustees. And on that board of trustees are people who are just amazing and help me and the rest of the team to direct the work that we do. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So listen, if you're watching this and you have friends in education, that they're teachers, that then what I want everybody to do is just to forward. We'll put the contact details up. At the very least, follow M10 or missions on their social channels, but forward that to your education friends, because this is quite clearly such an important area. Ministry, if we want to call it, whatever,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we, that needs. We want young people involved in this, definitely, and you can, you've heard so many reasons why we want to do that: raising aspirations, addressing mental health, helping them make their applications for uni stand out above the rest, and give them real world experiences, and all of that underpinned by demonstrating, living out the love of God, actually, demonstrating Jesus happening, and things. So, again, we want everybody to be involved as much as possible in this. So, look, commit to doing that. Just kind of, do that. I tell you what, Stephen, it's probably a good time now. I'm encouraging people to do that. Just to pop your kind of contact details on screen. So here they are. Obviously you can see the site, and it's well worth going to. And obviously you've got contact details. How can people support you then, Stephen, as an organisation, as M10? What can people do?
Yeah, so obviously they can support us financially. That's quite straightforward. Uh, but also, I would say exactly what you just said. Uh, so if you have friends in education, if you know school teachers, assistant heads, careers leaders in school, uh, just put them in touch with us. And we can do the rest from there. You just need to give them our name, they get in touch with us, and we take it from there. And I'm telling you, that school will never look back,
Yeah.
because I'm that confident that we can deliver on a level that would raise the impact of what they're doing.
Yeah. Amazing. So listen, people, that's what we need to do. We need to do just exactly that, really. I'm sure, continue to pray for, the team, Stephen and the team, because I'm
Yes.
sure you've got an amazing team. Like I said earlier before we came on, I had a look at the wonderful pictures and the people that you've got involved, and I knew some of them, which is great. But like you say, a quality organisation having such a huge impact on young people's lives, and again, demonstrating the love of God and living out the love of Jesus, and without even some of the students even realizing, maybe, but not that you kind of hide it in any way, but just demonstrating what that's like,
That's right.
and it having such an impact, again, on people within Mexico, they're obviously blessing those people, building a house for them and so on. I'm very fortunate. I did something similar with an organisation, charity called Lions Roar in South Africa in 2010.
Well, that's right,
And, amazing. I mean, you talked about going to Mexico and having your, being transformed yourself. I mean, absolutely, totally can relate to that, because it was the same in South Africa. We were in the Valley of the Thousand Hills, and we went across as football fans, but to be a constructive force of football fans rather than destructive that unfortunately some England idiots can be. Excuse my personal opinion, but I'm allowed to show that. I'm sure I'll get away with that. But honestly, I'm sorry, I'm distracted again by Mr. Barry Thompson posting things on comments and stuff like that, particularly football related. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Again, these are the standout memories for me when we arrived as a group of about 50 or so lads from all over the UK, in this hotel in Durban, South Africa. Really nice hotel, very comfortable. And then the next day we went to our, kind of projects, and there was football and there was construction kind of projects. So, building school, orphanage, kind of football camps and things. I was involved in the football camps, but, every single lad came back from those projects and then just looked at what we had in that hotel, and it totally put things into perspective. And like you say, then the next day, literally, gathering as much as the breakfast bar as we could get away with, literally like a swarm of locusts, not for ourselves, but to take to the projects and again, to pass out. And it was such a life-changing experience to meet those people who were, I mean, honestly, I felt like Father Christmas for the, because we were able to give out football kits and things like that, and obviously leave a lasting legacy of the building work and so on. It's still there in orphanages, like I say, a school, and so on. And it's really the last day of the project. It was funny. Literally every lad came from the half a dozen, so I can't quite remember how many projects there were, but literally we're getting back on the coaches, semi-naked, because literally we'd all given away pretty much everything that we had. but kept a bit for our modesty, those kind of things, and it was honestly, it was life changing and so on. I mean, another guy that's done an episode previously was ex-Sunderland professional player, Maurice Hepworth, who's an amazing fellow, and again, he was in, we had that experience together, and it was just amazing, like you say, to have that opportunity. And I know, and that's why I was asking about who you're in partnership with in Mexico and things like that, is actually, that wasn't just a group of people turning up, doing some work and then disappearing again. It is done sustainably, obviously in partnership with local church and mission and things like that. Absolutely. So listen, as always, it's 9 o'clock. So as like I said earlier, time seems to speed up when we do these kind of things, and it's been so great just to catch up with you, Stephen, and just to spend a bit of time with you, hear obviously a bit of your story and the amazing work. I love that. I'll go and do a year out in the northeast, and I've 30 years later, I'm still here, kind of doing the things. It's amazing. Again, just the amazing stuff that you've been involved with and you continue to be involved with. And again, I just want to encourage people. I'm just going to put the contact details again just on screen. But it's quite simple. If you want to, obviously pray for Stephen and the team. Listen, the reality is every charity needs financial support. If you want to support them, then please do so financially. They're doing amazing work. So do that. And, maybe you want to get involved in, further than that. So get in touch, follow them obviously on the channels, socials, and do that. And just keep yourself up to date. And, obviously if anybody wants to get in touch with Stephen, I'm sure you're happy for that to happen via the social media channels and so on. Please do so. And obviously there was a number on there if you want to give him a call as well, or email or whatever it may be. Mate, it's been great. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed it. I think certainly people showed some love for the world map behind you, your decor. I'm showing the love for the Blue Yeti. Thank you for moving your camera. There we go. But obviously, most importantly, it's great that what you're doing, and we just want to bless you in that, mate. Obviously with all the rest of the team as well. Thank you for what you're doing and impacting in young people's lives, and so many stories. I'm sure you could roll off so many more. But again, just bless you and encourage you to keep on going. And like I say, people, we need to support this organisation. So if you know somebody in education, in secondary education in particular, if they're further up the hierarchy, even better. But listen, if you have children, if you have students, if your kids are students at secondary schools, look, motivate them. Get them to go and talk to their pastoral teams and say, we need to be involved with this organisation. I can do it that way, because like Stephen said quite rightly, raising aspirations is so important. Addressing young people's mental health, is so, so important, particularly, lockdown and the huge impact that's had in COVID and so on. It's such, a big issue that we need to, support our young people practically, get them the help that they need. And again, this is a great practical way to be able to do that and give them, life-changing, we've heard it, life-changing experiences.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Stephen. I know you're a busy fella, and so we do appreciate you kind of, taking a bit, time out. So I'm glad we got a date sorted in the end, and it's great, like you say. So if you just want to stay on, but I'll finish the show and then maybe we can have a quick chat afterwards, mate. That'd be great.
Brilliant. Cheers.
So just to again, like I say, thank you to Stephen, and amazing work. Please do get in touch with them. All right, support them, follow their social channels, consider financially supporting. The reality is that's how charities survive these days, and it doesn't just happen. Listen, from our point of view, in terms of Embrace Church, it's going to be really helpful if you head over to our YouTube channel and then just obviously subscribe to that. That would be brilliant. If you want to know a bit more about Embrace Church, then you can head over to our website or our socials, as you can see, in the usual kind of way. It'd be great to hear from you. Listen, we're about kingdom. We're about the church with a capital C. There's only one church, and that's God's church. It has lots of different expressions and flavours and how we, live that out. But, we are all about kingdom, and we are all about making Jesus known and just celebrating how God is doing this stuff through his people in lots of different ways. in their ministries of, living that out at school, in work, in their communities, whatever, home and away, like I say, either in the Northeast, amazing Northeast, or Mexico, South Africa, wherever around the world, to the ends of the earth, it says in the Bible. All right. So, listen, it's been great. Like I said, spending a bit of time with you. We're just going to wrap up for tonight. Set your reminder for next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Tune in again, live if you can. But if you do catch up as well, that's much appreciated. And just again, please share these these episodes with your friends and your family online, and maybe encourage them to tune in as well. That would be great. All right. So have a good week, people. Take care.